Would someone characterize you as rugged and refined? Hi, I'm Mike Mason. This is the Immortal Combat Podcast. The Immortal Combat Podcast is a podcast arm of Very Christie. Very Christie is a Catholic lay apostolate devoted to help men attain a full stature of Christ by growing strong in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to learn more about our work, you can check us out online at verychristie.com and stjosephsociety.org. All right, gentlemen, a happy Easter to all of you. I'm catching you on Friday of the Easter octave. I hope you guys had a blessed Triduum, a great Easter Sunday with family, and you're rejoicing in the resurrection of our beloved Lord. So it's a great time of year. At daily mass this week, even during weekday masses, they had singing and things like that, which was really awesome. So hopefully you guys got a chance to get to mass this week and kind of keep that momentum going that you developed over Lent. The first thing I want to address, I want to talk about being rugged and refined, give you guys a little bit of encouragement on this Friday morning to head into the weekend and have a great weekend. But a couple things came to mind this week. One, as we were creeping up till Easter, I was on social media, which I don't spend too much time on, but I was on there, and there was a meme put out about what Catholics are like on Easter Sunday. Okay. So we do all these sacrifices and fasting and abstinence and things like that. And then the joke was that on Easter Sunday, you're eating steak and drinking scotch and eating Peeps and just blowing everything. Okay. I don't think this is probably an issue among men who listen to this podcast or in our groups, because you guys are committed to, that narrow path of salvation. But I want to give you a little bit of encouragement. I think a lot of people, their mindset is during Lent, they'll get really intense and really sharp. And then you get to Easter Sunday, and by, Easter Tuesday, you're back to what you were like before. And I really want to strongly encourage you guys to not take that route. Okay. I think that many people look at the fact that we have a 50-day Easter season. It's a season of celebration in the octave. And a lot of people have the mindset that that mortification and penance are completely done away with during this time. Okay. If you spend 40 days of Lent, practicing penance and mortification, and then don't do anything until Pentecost Sunday and think you're going to kind of pick it up when summer comes around, that is not a plan for success. And is the Easter season, should it be festive and celebratory and a season of feasting? Of course it should. Okay? I'm not undermining the tradition of our church. However, I think people have the wrong idea of what feasting is. Feasting is not, drinking booze every single night or eating cake every single night and doing things like that. Okay. Feasting is having a sung mass at a Tuesday evening mass at a parish. Okay. That's celebratory. The rules around temperance still apply, in the Easter season. And so I want to encourage you guys, make sure those disciplines that you picked up over Lent, you don't abandon them completely. And as I said at the beginning of Lent, and something I kind of pass on to guys, it's a good practice during Lent to, one, focus on some sin you're trying to get rid of and really kind of nail that thing down. That's a beautiful practice. What sort of virtue do you want to adorn yourself with? Is there some sort of practice, ascetical practice or thing that you want to introduce in your life that you don't intend on leaving behind? And then third, what's some sort of good thing that you intend to pick back up on Easter Sunday, but for the sake of Lent, you're going to put down? Guys, that sin you dropped, keep it dropped. Okay. St. Paul says, don't use our freedom, right, as an excuse to sin. Okay. This freedom we found during Lent, don't go back to the trough. Okay. Second, this virtue or this discipline you wanted to take up, keep that thing going, whatever that was that you put in. Okay. And then the good thing you reintroduced, I encourage you, think of how you're going to use that thing, whatever it is. Okay. If you just love eating ice cream and you're doing 4 times a week, and maybe you're coming out of Lent going, yeah, I don't need 4, maybe 3 or 2 times a week. That's awesome. Okay. But don't lose that momentum, fellas. We need to be penitential. We need to practice mortification and penance year round, though admittedly, liturgically, some seasons are more intense than others. Okay. So just make sure we don't fall into that trap where our lives, we end up looking like, typical American, and we're not setting ourselves apart. So that's my first thought to pass on to you guys, and first act of encouragement. Second, I want to throw out to you guys the idea of rugged and refined. I've been driving back and forth to Iowa a fair amount to visit my family. And so I get to listen to a lot of podcasts, which is fun. But one of the podcasts I was listening to, a gentleman was brought up the idea that when you look at the Greeks and the Romans in their cultures, there was the academy, right? The place that you refine the mind, that you train the mind to think well. Okay. You had the temple where you offered worship, and then you had the stadium for sports and physical um, discipline. Okay, so the Greeks and Romans, all versions, their culture, they highlighted all three of these. Okay, and the idea was that an ideal man would master the stadium. He'd be physically fit and well disciplined. He would have a well trained mind, and in their culture, obviously, you have a devotion to the gods. Um, in the medieval period, of course, we refined and perfected the idea of the academy. Okay, a Catholic liberal arts education, really sound philosophy and theology, great stuff there. Okay, we also have incredible worship that's developed of the one true God. This our liturgical tradition. You know, when you start studying that, it's just so deep and rich and beautiful. We really perfect that through that medieval period, and even into today. But a lot of times, what was left behind is the stadium aspect. Okay, and I want to encourage you guys we need to reclaim that as men, particularly laymen, men in general, whether priests or laymen, but particularly laymen. Men, we need to recapture the idea of the stadium, the academy, and the temple. Okay. In our apostolate here, we encourage men to be strong in mind, body, and spirit, right? To attain the full stature of Christ by becoming strong in mind, body, and spirit. Start with the lower of these, the body. Guys, we need to be men about the stadium. You need to be training. I don't mean exercising. Exercising is lame. You need to train. Now, of course, you guys know I'm not in the business of telling you how you need to train because you know your situation and your fitness level and all that stuff. But men, we need to take training seriously. Okay. Every boy should be able to look to a father that has strong arms and a strong back. We owe it to our wives and children to do that. Um, we need to train physically, whether that's running, lifting weights, push up, whatever it is you decide to do. You need to have a training mindset about the body. It matters that we're strong. Okay. Second, men, we need to be disciplined about the life of the mind. We don't need to all go get doctorates or become specialists in theology and philosophy, but we need to refine our minds and learn to think well about the faith, about the culture we live in, because the fact of the matter is you can't remain a solid Catholic in our day and age if you don't understand your faith well. You need to take training of the mind seriously. We challenge guys twice a week, set time aside to train yourself in the faith, whatever that looks like for you. But twice a week, you need to be intentional. With the body, 3 times a week. Okay. The last one, men, we need to be serious about our worship of mighty God. When we go to church, when we go to adoration, that's serious business. Okay. We should not be going to mass as consumers. We are there in union with the priest to offer the sacrifice of the Holy Mass to God Himself. Through our witness, our children and our wives, we should lead them into worship. Show them that a real man bows before God, kneels before God, prostrates himself before God, lays down his life for his Lord, who modeled that for us by laying down his life for us. Okay. Man, we need to lead in these departments. And so I want to encourage you guys to be rugged and refined. A true Catholic man should be rugged. Okay. We should be able to get out there and cut it up. All right. We should be able to, if the guy next door has to fell a tree and cut stuff up with a chainsaw all day or whatnot, we should be able to walk out and do that. Okay. We should be able to put a pack on our back, get out on the trail and put some miles underneath us. We should be able to do physical labor around the house. A Catholic man needs to be rugged. Okay. We also need to be refined. What you will find is that men tend to gravitate towards one or the other. So the guys that are physically strong, into sports, stuff like that, they will gravitate towards the rugged part. They'll become rugged, but they're not refined. Okay. They're like Neanderthals, right? They're not putting time in the study. They're not taking their worship life seriously. That's not good. You'll find guys with big brains and high IQs where they love the intellectual life, which is great, but they shy away from the rugged aspect of it. They're not getting themselves into the gym with the guys with the muscle. They're not doing manual labor, okay, with guys from time to time. They're not developing that part of their character. So they might be refined intellectually, but they're just not rugged guys. It's like, people who take worship seriously, okay, but they're not developing their intellectual life. And again, not being rugged. We need to develop all three, okay? God wants us to be strong in mind, body, and spirit. And we need to be committed to doing just that. And I do think there's a model to this. I think when you look at the Christian knight of the Middle Ages, right, these Crusader knights, they are a good example, okay? And some of them had flaws. I'm not going to explain them away, okay? These were warriors. Some warriors are going to have major flaws. But there are examples in our history of men, okay, the Knights Templars, especially when they started out. St. Bernard of Clairvaux calling the First Crusade. There were these men who took seriously being rugged and disciplined and strong arms, strong back, to being fighters. They took the intellectual life seriously, and they took the spiritual life seriously. And so my encouragement to you guys, okay, this should light a fire in your belly. We need to be men committed to all three. Carve out time in your life, prioritize becoming rugged and refined by becoming strong in mind, body, and spirit. Okay. We should be prepared in season and out of season in all areas. All right. And I hope this pumps you guys up, motivates you a little bit. Get out there this weekend. Okay. If you got good weather wherever you are, get out there, do some rugged yard work, get a workout in. Guys, find some time to study and stick with that daily prayer plan. Okay. Be a man who's both rugged and refined, a man of Christ. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend. I'll see you next time. God bless.